Good afternoon, folks. This is Truth for Seniors. I'm Greg Steen, and I'm so glad that you're with us today. Just enjoying a wonderful day here in the big town of Fresno, California, and coming to you from Central Valley Talk out of the most awesome and unique Tower District. So anyway, I want to give a shout out real quick just because I'm remembering, and if I don't do it now, I probably won't. But Zen Walk Fusion, if you're watching any of the shows on Central Valley Talk, you know that they have the most awesome food. And once again, I've just enjoyed a great meal, so my hat's off to those guys. If you've not tried them, you need to. It's really, really awesome. So I'm very excited about the show today. I've got a wonderful guest that I'm going to bring on here in a little bit. But when we talk about Truth for Seniors, as you know, if you're new to the show, we're really trying to give you the most up-to-date and accurate information regarding seniors, caregivers, their needs, pretty much anything that affects a senior. And for those of you that have been watching for a while, maybe you listen to our radio show every Saturday on KGED 1680 AM. I really appreciate your input. We really want to bring you knowledge, and of course we know knowledge is power. Knowledge gives you options, and you know what I found over the years is that people generally don't respond to anything regarding their loved ones until they're in the middle of a crisis. And most people, when they realize they have to do something, maybe to help your parent who's declining, health-wise, generally don't do anything until they're in a crisis. And then when you start looking at all your options, guess what? They're limited. And so our goal here is to educate you, bring you the most up-to-date and accurate information from people that are absolute experts who are passionate and just entirely committed to helping people and making their lives better. And we found years ago that, about 10 years ago, before Al Gore invented the internet, you had to go to the source to get all the information, whether it's legal or medical or financial or tax-wise or whatever. But today, in today's world, you can pretty much Google about anything and find out more than you ever would need to know. And in the meantime, do like most of you do and confuse yourself and then do nothing. So what we try to do is kind of swing the pendulum back to the middle with this show and give you, like I said, the most accurate, up-to-date information, because people don't know after a while who to trust, if the information that they're reading on the internet is obsolete, if it's accurate, if it's timely, how much of it is actually applicable to their situation. And I don't know about my guest or anybody else, but when I deal with clients, most of them have a very limited amount of time. They're too busy being caregivers. They're overwhelmed. It's very stressful. And so what we're trying to do is just make people's lives a lot easier, point you in the right direction, if you will. So appreciate your input, but we are the one-stop shop for your information. We're the one place that you need to go. You'll get the most up-to-date, accurate information. Something that I'm pretty excited about right now. We're just a few days away from launching a completely brand new and totally very cool Truth for Seniors website. I just can't wait. I've got a couple little last things to approve, and it's going to be awesome. It'll just very, very much overwhelm and totally outshine what we've got right now, and I'm very excited about that. But in the meantime, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on our websites, LinkedIn, Google+, and any other place that you hang out. So, all right, so as promised, we've got some local experts. We've got people that are passionate about what they do and why they do it and how they do it, and people that I have personally vetted and gotten to know and used with my clients. And I think that you'll find that we absolutely have the best people when it comes to providing you what you need pertaining to the needs of your loved one. And so Truth for Seniors is here for you. Like I say, we're on Saturdays on the radio, we're on the web, we're pretty much everywhere. We were just out last Saturday at the Alzheimer's Walk and Run. Had an awesome time, great time. We're going to talk to you about a couple of upcoming things here real quick, because on June 14th, we'll talk about it a little bit more after the break, but on June 14th is the Senior Living Network's Walk and Run down in Tulare County. And that's going to benefit the Alzheimer's Foundation of Central California, the Porterville Adult Day Services, which we're going to talk about after the break, and the UCSF Fresno Alzheimer and Memory Center. Great organizations and great people behind them. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along. And was that my 1 minute thing that I saw flash? Okay. So we also have something that's kind of a shameless plug on my part, but I'm going to do it anyway because you've asked me to. But on May 8th, so just right around the corner, a week from tomorrow actually, I'm going to be speaking at a very unique event up in Squaw Valley. And it's kind of a humorous thing because it's a group that I know very well. It's a seniors group. It's actually a large group, and they're really fun, and we always have a good time. But they've asked me to cover a few things, and you won't believe some of these titles. But but maybe you'll enjoy this. And if you can get up there, it's about noon. It's at the Senior Center in Squaw Valley on May 8th, next Thursday. But some of the subjects you'll love. Do you really want your son or daughter-in-law having the power to pull the plug on you? Most people would say no. Who's going to live in your home after you're gone? Well, believe it or not, you might get a surprise. This is a great one. When you need help, who's going to change your diapers? Believe it or not, these are the questions that people have asked me to address. Why you should not buy long-term care insurance, and that's something that a lot of people ask us about. Another one is I want to stay home, but I don't know that I can. I also want to be cared for at home, and I don't know if I can. And where in the heck do you find help? Because I'm the caregiver for my spouse 24/7, 365. Well, our guest is going to help us with that, but also we're going to cover these things next Thursday up in Squaw Valley. It's going to be a great time. Going to talk about things like trust versus wills. Going to talk about Medi-Cal a little bit, the Medicare cuts, and yes, you can't believe the government. They are cutting Medicare. They have cut Medicare. They're going to continue to cut Medicare, and we're going to talk about that so you can plan now and not be a burden later. Okay? Also, real quick, the Butterfly to Remember is an awesome memorial event put on by AseraCare. It's on May 14th out at Wolf Lakes. It's going to be in the evening, I think about 5:30. I was just informed earlier today that I'm going to be the welcome speaker, apparently, and so love to see you all out there. We have attended this event for years. It's an awesome time. It's a great time to remember your loved ones and just have some really a good time of fellowship and remembrance as well. So that's May 14th, and we'll go from there. So love to see you out there. If you have questions, you can always call Truth for Seniors at 800-456-7559, or shoot us an email through the websites. And I think we're going to take a quick break, but when I come back, I have a friend and a guest that you are just going to love, and I'm going to wait till after the break to introduce her, but stay tuned because you do not want to miss what's ahead. And we're back. This is Truth for Seniors. Glad that you're with us, and I am Greg Steen, your host. And so, as I promised before the break, we have a guest in the studio today, and I'm so glad to bring her to you. Her name is Cheri Taylor, and she is the Executive Director of the Porterville Adult Day Services. And welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
I'll bet you are. I'm glad to have you. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while.
Me too.
I just love what you guys do. I know that when I was at the facility recently, maybe 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I was just so impressed with what I saw, because obviously there was a full group there. In every room there was people enjoying themselves and being tutored, if you will, for lack of better words. It looked like they were one-on-one. They were helping them. They were walking them through to have fun or do whatever they were doing, and so, man, this is so great, that they're getting all this attention. But so if we can, I know that on your card it says that the Porterville Adult Day Services is your caregiving partner.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that and what that means.
We're the best kept secret. That's what I say.
You are.
Because the generation which I am a part of, as we emphasize, is always the baby boomer generation. Mm-hmm. Until it actually happens to them, which you pointed out before, they don't know it's there. And a friend of mine, Sharon DeMasters in this area, said that a band could be going by every day and you can hear this loud noise and get even frustrated with it, but until you need something, you go, where was that band? I don't know where it was. Well, we are an adult day service program, and one of those services is an adult day program.
Okay.
And an adult day program is what's so special because you can put your loved one, 18 years and older, that cannot stay home safely in that home and have them back at the end of the day, so you still remain a family, which I think is very valuable today.
Yeah, critical.
And then the person won't be prematurely placed into an adult assisted living or facility. And many people that we are touching and reaching aren't able to afford that anyway.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge group of people that are in that group. It's out of reach.
Well, they're using their Social Security, which is what we're supposed to, but it only goes so far. And our job is to make that Social Security work for you. But meantime, there's been an economy crisis where families have moved in together to make it work, and they're living on mom and dad's Social Security, and then they don't know how to get out of that. And the other service we provide is a free service for caregivers to counsel personally, family, support groups, case management, all of that at a friendly, big table to figure out how the family's going to do what they need to do in the future and how they're going to afford it and what tools are in the valley to use so that it makes it easier. We're a home away from home that reaches out and does that. And I think that most people don't know there is such a thing because if they're going to work or going to school, their kids are in school, everything's working, but then they have mom and dad who either have a stroke or a vascular problem of some sort, or were in a car accident, or have dementia, or have Alzheimer's, which I am really dedicated to. What do? They can't leave them home, and there's nobody that knows how to take care of them. And if there is somebody, paid or not, professional or not, one-on-one is not the prescription for dementia or Alzheimer. It's social that's going to help them. So they use all facets of their minds and brains, which my staff enjoys, and they remain a person.
Obvious.
They still have their honor and dignity and have what my purpose in life is, their stories that are told over and over again, and we help the family appreciate that. And I think that the family appreciates the fact that they can do that after it's completed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I know when I was there, I just really appreciated it. I've been into, every skilled nursing facility, every assisted living, lots of residential care, lots of senior centers. And I felt something very special when I walked in, is that people were at ease. And you said you're a home away from home. Well, I sensed that when I walked through it. People weren't uptight. They weren't, wandering around aimlessly. They were involved. They were engaged, and it just felt very comfortable. So let's talk a little bit then about how did you enter the equation? How did you get involved?
Well, back in 1990,
Just a day or two ago.
my husband and I came to town to do a different kind of, we came for a ministry of a church. And my husband became a part of a board that was started by Wim Myers, who wanted to have an adult day program that he knew about and started in Whittier, California, to this area. So they pulled it together between two churches to begin with, and those two churches decided which one had the wheelchair accessible bathrooms, and that was then appointed to be the place where they would help caregivers for 3-4 hours a day.
So for respite.
Respite only, yes. And so they did that, but then in about 1992, Wim said, I'm turning 80 in 1995, and I need somebody to take this over. Who would that be? And my husband said, my wife.
Because you were doing nothing, I'm sure.
Nothing.
As a pastor's wife
I
at the time.
I was actually a Christian education director of the church. I was a
Oh,
minister.
So there you go.
So at the time, I happened to have the background that state licensing needed, and they hadn't state licensed yet, but they were looking towards that. 501c3, and I had a BA in sociology, psych, you could do a minor, and then a piece of gerontology, which disappeared after I graduated in 1974 from San Diego State University. It just, the more children were involved in our society than the elderly. So I came aboard and became a part of the board, and then when retired, and I became actually the executive director in 1993. I worked a year for free. Then I had to learn bylaws, and because they didn't have those yet. I had to learn to get a board of directors, didn't have those yet. I had to, well, they had sort of a board of directors, but not established. United Way became involved of Tulare County.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, and I learned, and I learned, and I learned, but what I learned most of all was the caregivers' unmet needs. We would have informal sessions where we invite caregivers in, and they would tell us what they needed, and that's what Porterville Adult Day Services, which we call PADS appropriately, negative or positive there, but we like it, PADS, we serve the unmet needs of the caregivers, and that's always what we will be doing. And that's kind of how I came into it, except for the love of my grandparents and being at my grandparents' knees and listening to their stories over and over again. I felt that in the history of my education, they could not be lost. Stories of our elders are important in the society that we are going into, and they should not be forgotten or discarded. They should be a part of the family and carried forth as the family gathers their own stories.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I know that you know, you're incredibly much more than respite, but respite is a good part of what you provide.
Yes.
And so let's talk about that just for a minute, for maybe any of our listeners that may not be aware of what respite is. It's really a relief period for the caregivers, because we know most caregivers will tend to deteriorate over a period of time because the caregiving job is very, very difficult, and generally one person does the majority of it, I believe. And I think the statistic nationally is about 37% of caregivers actually pass away before the one they're caring for.
Yes.
So respite care, is that a couple hours a week or a day, or how's that work?
When you have become the caregiver, it's kind of like a deer in headlights. All of a sudden, boom, you're the one. And life is still happening around you, and how do you do what your heart tells you, especially if you're the spouse of somebody? How do you not do what you promised to do, to love and cherish and take care of this person to the end of life? And if you are the daughter or son, how do you become the parent of a parent? Grandchildren, once removed, are actually pretty good at it, because they don't have all the buttons that you have as the person who promised.
That's
and if
really
you're
true.
the person who promised, you're going to get it. So immediately caregivers will say, no, my person will not go to a adult day program. Heavens, they want to stay in the house and be right here with me. Now I am not breathing, and maybe I have a medical problem. I can't have a life, but I promised, and this person will never go. And no, I wouldn't either, would you? You are fighting so hard for your dignity and for your life, and it's slowly being taken away from you. Your memories, people are taking away your license, your driver's license, all the things you used to do. So you're going to fight like heck, grasping, and they're going to take that caregiver and just hold on tight. But if the caregiver will learn to kind of let go and trust somebody who will be that person for them, which is what we do. We become that caregiver. We walk in their shoes, and we learn all about your loved one, so that whatever your loved one likes, whatever their stories are, we know them best we can. So even if a person comes in as a volunteer, we're going to have some way that they learn about those things, so that they approach this person as a real person with a story and a benefit and life that needs to be gathered into that person that's talking to them. Not just, we're coming in to help you or to take care of you or to. Caregivers can't do that part. But if you let go, you can. if you let go and let us do the work that we do, they come home tired, they've had a full day, they've been a part of something themselves, they have done some volunteer stuff, whether they remember or not, and come home to a family then who can be a family together, relax, there's not as much wandering, there's not as much during the night episodes.
Sure.
We work together, and you will know everything they've done through the day. You will know how they reacted to things. We keep track and stats on all of that, but we are dedicated to them in their home away from home. It's not about us, it's about your loved one.
That's amazing. I mean, it's so necessary. I know just from my own clients and my experience, respite care is very underutilized.
Well, and grants do not take help out with respite. They only will help the caregiver in other issues that caregivers have. Training, workshops, counseling, support groups, if they need a bus to carry them transportation-wise to something, but not their loved one, because their loved one has an illness that's not going away. You'll find that with children who have cancer, et cetera. It's very difficult to find grants. That's why we reach out to the community to help. So respite at PADS is very low priced, and we never turn anybody away. And so it can work with your long-term care and with your in-home care and all of that to make it affordable for you, or scholarships and people out there we can find to help you.
So it's really a supplement to all those things.
Yeah.
An added-on benefit, if you will. That's amazing.
We're the only one in the valley.
I was just going to say, I remember you saying something about that. You're the only one in the valley.
I don't understand that. I really don't.
The need is huge.
Well, I guess it's going to be huge. I guess they haven't heard the bus yet. They're going to, though. And you
bus is
bet,
driving by,
I'm going to be
we know
right
that.
there, because I really feel that people are coming back to family, even if they're across the nation. We're so spread out, but we know how to do that too. We know how to help with that too. And we know the people out there that are good and decent people that are going to be there to try to help you. And we need to make the continuum of care include everything. And I'm right down here. And the whole umbrella is going to work if we just keep working together.
Working together, yep. With that, we're going to take a quick break at Truth for Seniors. I'm with Cheri Taylor, and we will be right back.
Talk.com.
And we're back. This is Truth for Seniors. I'm Greg Steen, and having a great conversation with a dear friend and somebody I have great respect for. That person is sitting next to me, Cheri Taylor, the Executive Director of PADS, Porterville Adult Day Services, as they are formerly known. And so let's just having a great conversation, talking about how you got involved and what PADS does for people. It's, I'd probably spend 2 shows talking about that and not cover half of it. But I know that you guys provide some things that maybe people aren't aware of. I've been helping seniors for 27 years, and I wasn't familiar with PADS. I'm more familiar now.
Good.
I know.
I'm so glad.
Trying to tell the story, but
We've signed you up already, and it's good you know beforehand.
there you go.
There you go.
There you go. So, but I know, for instance, we talked about respite a little bit, but there's other things that you do, transportation being one of them. That's a
Yes.
huge thing, because
Yes.
it's very difficult sometimes for people to just load up mom and take her somewhere.
Well, out of those unmet needs that we have, where we find out what the caregivers need, respite was one, and at low cost and low value, because they couldn't afford what in-home care, et cetera, was costing. So then we knew next was showers, okay, before transportation. It was showers. How do you get somebody with dementia to take a shower? Sometimes it takes weeks, right, caregivers? Sometimes you just can't get them there. But in a new atmosphere and with new caregivers that they learn to know, we have a wheelchair accessible shower. Actually, we've got 6 bathrooms in our facility.
Really?
And the city didn't want me to build a shower because why would it? No. So we built a mop sink, because you got to clean your mops in this big building. And around that mop sink was a wheelchair accessible shower, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. So we did that, and then we wash their clothes if they mess up, and incontinence is not a problem. And anything they might outrageously do that would embarrass you is not a problem. We've seen it all.
Sure.
And then transportation. Da-da. Oops, wrong
Oh, there
side.
you go.
Da-da. We have a van. Actually, we have two. They say Porterville Adult Day Services all over it. Rotary Club of Porterville gave us this van.
Wow.
And we drive to Visalia. We drive to Tulare. We've driven to Exeter, Strathmore, Terabella, Springville, Woodlake. We drive all over to pick up your loved one in the morning, about 7:30 is when we start. And then we
Wow.
bring them back before 5:30 because they have to be back into the building by 5:30. So we do this for the caregivers. So you say, why Porterville? And I live over here. Well, I guess what I would be asking you is, first of all, your loved one doesn't know they're traveling in a vehicle for a distance. They just know that there's loving people and they're communicating
a
with
trip.
them and they're going on a trip. And then they come back. Well, first they come to our facility with all this warm, loving faces, giving them in the morning exactly what they've asked for and need. If it's coffee, if it's milk, if it's tea, it's done to perfection. It's the greatest Starbucks ever. And then they have a wonderful snack, then breakfast snack, and then they have a meal. And it might be their one nutritious meal of the day because it's very hard to feed somebody because they don't remember to eat. And do you have the time always to make sure they have that nutritious meal in the life of taking care of children and husband and job and all of the activities that are going on in your home? They will get that one meal. And then we bring them back to your home. And there you are. And they remember, and that's the point, that if you do this and are consistent with it for a good 2 to 3 weeks and they become used to that inside their core, they will realize you're not getting rid of them. You're not taking them somewhere where they're never coming home to you. They are coming home. And it takes a little time for us humans to feel that. And we call it walking in their shoes because many times somebody will walk out the door. I'm getting out of here. I'm going home. I can do it. I'm walking. And out the door they go. And instead of us saying, get back in here, you're not safe, this is not a good thing, we say, where are we going, Mr. Jones? And off we go. And we've gone many places. We've gone around the block 3 times. We've gone around the building, came in the other side. We've gone to the bank where they wanted to get their money out. And we just go, they have dementia. And so the bank teller will tell them that they don't have the key to get their money out today, come back tomorrow. So we go out and
Wow.
and reassess. But caregivers have a rough road to toe. And part of it is that they're the bad guy most of the time. And they don't want to give up to somebody else like me to help take care of them because they don't want to become more of the bad guy. But letting go helps them become more of the good guy. If you let the doctors give the
does.
bad news,
Yeah.
if you let the DMV give the bad news, if you let us give the bad news of whatever it is you're trying to insert into their life, you are the good guy. And you can say, I'm so sorry Cheri did that to you.
Yeah.
I'm
I've
so
been the bad
sorry.
guy many times,
There you
I'll
go.
tell you. And I will do it 100 times again because
Yeah.
it's better for them. And
is.
it's so important that you all realize that these services are out there. Unfortunately, right now they're only in Porterville, but hopefully we can change that. But folks, if you're out there and you're a caregiver, or maybe your father's a caregiver for your mother, or vice versa, and you start realizing the toll that it's taking on them, take advantage of this. We always say, a lot of times people say, well, my dad needs to go to assisted living, but I live in the north side of town, and gosh, the only one that's available is in the south side of town. Well, we always tell our clients, what does it matter if the inconvenience is on you? Really, the focus needs to be on your loved one because it's what's best for them. So quite honestly, getting back to the transportation, I could see where somebody might say, well, I'd have to drive them all the way to Porterville, and I live in, Visalia or Fresno or whatever, but Bakersfield. But if you're picking them up, I don't see any
No,
negative here.
no.
And so that's unbelievable. So let's talk about something real quick. You are the only one around.
The only one. We are state licensed under Title 22 with the Department of Social Services. We are a 501c3. So we get 1 grant monies at the moment, which during the crisis, they couldn't write the check for 4 months. So at the tune of $10,000 a month,
When the
we didn't have
government
it.
shut down.
When the government shut down, it wasn't that the money wasn't there. They couldn't get it to us. It couldn't come down the pike. So we are always needing the communities, which in the future, that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have to pick your charities of choice and know what your community needs, and it's going to have to come about out of our pockets to support those missions that we want to support and that we think are valuable. I happen to think that our elderly are valuable and that seniors are going to really need this. And in the future, I watched the Aging of the Future video, ASA, American Society of Aging. Yes, and they had a wonderful panel, and the panel was professing that, yes, above 50 was going to be huge, and that there would be, the heart disease would be taken care of soon, and that strokes, etc., cancer would be finding many cures. That is a given point in these big, smart people's minds. But they said dementia, they said you're going to live to 150, 47% over 85 would have dementia and living 150 years. What are we going to do with that? We haven't thought as baby boomers ahead as to what our society is going to look like. And dementia is going to happen from various reasons due to over medicating ourselves because more was better. We thought that. Things we put in our bodies that we wish we hadn't back in the 60s and 70s. Car accidents, vascular, not eating right. Tons of reasons. It's not just Alzheimer's, which is a one of the ways that we have dementia. And dementia now, or Alzheimer's, has various dementias in that one disease now. It's not just defined as Alzheimer's. So dementia is the key word. Caregiving, if we build enough places today to handle those who we need to take care of, there would be, we wouldn't have time to build enough.
Sure.
So families, you are the caregivers.
That's a good point.
You guys coming out of college right now and entering into your professions, which we train college students, by the way, even from Bakersfield on up through the valley, you will need to be on your calendar to also factor in when you're going to be a caregiver. You will be, as Rosalind Carter's has noted to us, you will be a caregiver for your family, your children. You will be a caregiver for your parents, grandparents, grandchildren, and you will be a care receiver at some time in your life. And you need to plan out what that's going to look like, because now you have control over that, whereas when it happens, you have no control. And you do not want to put that on your families, that's for sure. You don't.
Wow. Well, you're getting into something that a lot of people have never even thought about.
They don't want to think about that.
No, I was just going to say.
Are you dying? I'm not.
No way.
No.
No. And as I just had a great couple in the office yesterday that are boomers, and, you know, looking at the future and saying basically, and they do very well, they're wonderful people, just great people, but they've kind of come to the conclusion that we're really just not saving enough, and we have no long-term care plan in place. And we're very concerned because we know what the future looks like, and because they're very, very healthy and very, you know, focused on that. Gosh, what happens if I live to age 90?
Exactly.
Or 95?
Exactly.
How does this work? And so I know some of the things that you do. You know, you've got fundraisers that you're doing, but you also try to educate people. I know that you're, man, folks, if you need resources, if you just need a place to go and say, help me, where do I start? Where do I begin? Because I don't know. Well, you would be like 99% of everyone else who's walking in your shoes. Most people don't know where to begin.
No.
They're looking for somebody to say, let me take you by the hand and kind of walk you and give you your options, show you your rights, and maybe take a few things out of your way that probably won't be much help to you, so that you can really get all the help that you can from these that are in your way. And see, we've got to take a quick break, but after the break, I want to talk about this because you're very involved in educating people and providing resources, and folks, you can't miss this. So this is Truth for Seniors. We will be right back.
Talk.com.
Good afternoon, folks. We are back. This is Truth for Seniors, and I'm having a good time. I hope you
too.
are. You are a wealth of information. This is Cheri Taylor. She is the Executive Director of the Porterville Adult Day Services, and they are the only one of their kind, and unfortunately, that's a true statement, but we need to change that, because what you bring in the way of resources and support, if you will, and counseling and love and guidance and all that is is huge, and it's so needed, respite care and transportation and all these things. There needs to be 10 of you in the valley.
Yes, yes.
You know?
There needs to be a Visalia Adult Day Services, a Tulare Adult Day Services, and it's a resource center for Truth for Seniors.
It is, yeah.
It's got to happen and free. I mean, for the caregivers that walk in the door, dementia or an illness is something that families want to kind of hold tightly and not tell anybody. And most of the people that have dementia had it for quite a while. And they hide it in various many ways. And then you hide it as the caregiver yourself because you don't want to face it. You don't want to have to go through all the things you're going to have to go through to make changes you need to make it work. So a resource center that you can know that's available on any kind of dementia. I mean, it can come from Parkinson's. It can come from various ways or
And
forms.
if I may, just real quick, all the services and people and agencies and groups that could help you cope with that disease or that situation, all the information's always there as well. I mean, you've got walls, full of brochures and helpful information and literature and all that as well, books.
It's just the bravery of walking in the door and saying, I need help, or I need to look through this and see what is available to me and my family. And you may think, oh my gosh, nothing is. We're just going to have to do it ourselves. No. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much you do have. It doesn't matter. Dementia knows, or Alzheimer's knows no boundaries. Culturally, any which way. I'll find people to speak with you in your own languages. It doesn't matter. But walking in can give you relief. Whether you use our facility or not, doesn't matter. It's tools for the caregiver, resources for the caregiver to do it how you and your family would do it, which is different than another family. And one person with an illness is just one person with an illness. It's different. And we know that it's different, but we know the resources out there. I've been on the Area Agency of Aging Council for Kings Tulare Area Agency on Aging for over 12 years. I was the chair for 12 years. I know the resources they have. I know the resources that Senior Companion Program has, the Senior Care Organization has. The Senior Care Organization is magnificent because it has all of the people in Visalia area and Tulare County that are coming together to do wonderful projects. And there's a plethora, my word, I love that word, plethora of people doing wonderful things for you out there. And you've got to find your right match in all the areas that you're going to have to do, because you've got to start thinking of health directives and your living trusts and your wills, and then you have to move into the care programs you can do. If you've got long-term care, well, what do you know? It runs out. So how do you make that last for all of you?
Yeah.
And how do you make that work? You need to be educated. And as I learn, which I've spent now since 1990 learning as fast as I can, times are changing quickly right now, and I can at least give you some solace in some of the areas that you need. And that's all I wish to do. There's no charge for walking in the door, no charge for coming back and forth or phone calls.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely. And it's obvious you have a heart for this. I mean,
I love it.
The reason that you're here, we always say at Truth for Seniors, it's our experts, your solutions. Well, it's obvious, an expert has to be somebody to get on this show that's more than just knowledgeable. They have to be passionate about it. They have to really have a heart to help people. And like I always say, putting people before profits. It's lost almost in this world. Everything is corporate, it's bottom line, it's, what fits the company business model. And, it may sound old-fashioned or out of date, but it's the way I do things. It's what's best for you, what's best for your loved one. And the reason Cheri's on this show is because she fits that mold. She's younger than me, obviously, but
I don't think so.
But she's just one who truly, truly believes and cares and helping people. And like I like to say is, if I can help you, I'll tell you. If I can't, I won't hurt you. But I'll always leave you in a better place than I found you.
Yeah,
and,
that's it.
So speaking of that, you got a couple workshops coming up.
I do.
May
Yes.
6th.
May 6th and May 8th. That's a Tuesday and a Thursday. That is at Porterville Adult Day Services. And if you are familiar with Porterville at all, it's in the old Vets building. It's a 6,500 square foot building that used to be behind the ballpark where the fairgrounds were, that now is not the ballpark anymore. I love that when you give directions in this valley. The courthouse is there. We're right behind the courthouse with the flag. there's a wonderful man named Dr. Taylor. He's a PhD in psychology, and he got Alzheimer's when he was about 55 years old. He was still a doctor of psychology and teaching for 5 years with the disease, and how he organized his life and made it work so that nobody knew. Because if he had told his workplace that he had this, they would have fired him. They told him, frankly, yes, if we had known, you would have been gone. He would have lost his insurance. He talks about how his family treated him when they did find out. He talks about how professionals treated him. And he gives you an idea of how he wants to be with me today, which is he will speak to you on video, not in real life. But right now, he is 72 years old. He did this when he was 66, and he's still writing books. He even had heart surgery in between. And we're talking about Alzheimer's from the Inside Out, which is a very wonderful book that he wrote. And it's pages and pages of situations and stories of what he went through and how he came out the other side. And he's very gentle, very kind. But one of the stories he tells is, at some point, you're going to find me sitting in a seat at the side of the room, and I'm going to be deep, deep inside of myself like this, and you're going to say, there sits what used to be Dr. Taylor. And we are so sorry, but we can't find him anymore. And you need to just sit next to him and be gentle, but he won't be there. Well, he says a word, and he says, yes, I am. I am in here. And all you have to do is learn how to reach me, because the personhood is never gone. And my ears are the last to go. And I can hear you. And I can be there in touch and in spirit. And if you just give me a little bit of your time, I might respond in some way. And isn't that still worth it? And you know, that's why PADS exists. Because honor, dignity, and choice to the end of days is important. And I believe the baby boomers don't think about that part of their lives. We don't die, we don't get older. And it's just not time to think about it. We're in the moment. But the moment goes day by day. And unless you prepare, or unless children whom I teach, I go to the schools, the high schools, in their pathway programs and Harmony School and all of that, teaching them, please have your parents take care of business and let you know what it is. Please prepare for the other end of your life.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, I've done it 3 times in my lifetime. I did it in the 7th grade when I thought I was going to die. Everybody around me thought I was going to die. I prepared my funeral service, and I took care of biz. I wrote letters to everybody I cared about. I've done it about 3 or 4 times in my life, I think, now, when I think about it. It's an okay thing. That's what we are so blessed to be here. And we forget about the aged. We're so moving in such a fast pace as youth that we forget that that is where our stories in life come from. That's why we're in the communities we are in, because they built them for us.
Absolutely.
That's why we
Heritage.
can step off and move off into whatever technology and whatever wonderful gifts of talents we have to carry forth and make this a better place. Yet, it does come from here. And it came from my grandparents and the stories they told and beyond. And that's how we live through each generation in my storytelling. So I think families should be coming back together to help each other. Even if they live far apart, there's ways to do it. With this new
Absolutely.
technology. We know how to do that. We know how to care. And just walk in the door and let us give you some ideas. We're good listeners, and you can figure it out.
Hey, real quick, thank you so much, first of all. This has been very rich. I appreciate it. And another minute or so that we have, 2 minutes, tell me what you see in the future. We've talked about it a little bit, but what would you like to see? Folks, you can donate to their 501c3. You can make a difference. If you can never volunteer, but you could help fund it financially, you can certainly call her, and you can get that information and be a real blessing to people. But, you know, if money was no object, what would you see for the future?
Managed care is coming in big and strong. It's coming into Fresno right now. It's going to hit Kings County and then Tulare County. And our valley will be full of managed care. We have wonderful hospitals all over. But what they're forgetting about is that one sector who's depending on their Social Security and doesn't or can't get long-term care, or doesn't realize that long-term care runs out and you need to hold on to it as long as possible before you use it. We're forgetting about how we can help those families that are not rich, that are in the middle class and dropping, to take care of themselves boldly, get back into the economy, and be able to participate we need to take care of our family members, and I think that's what PADS needs to do, is be able to help those managed care people realize that we are the beginning of that continuum, that they need
Absolutely.
that, and they need the caregivers to be trained and educated, and they need support groups, and they need workshops and conferences, and they need that one place of adult day programming that can help the families help themselves and to grow out of it and become educated and be proud of that they're taking care of their family.
Awesome. Very well said. And I will tell you this, folks, in 27 years, I've never seen a place, I doubt that I've met a person that is as passionate and caring as Cheri, but I've also never seen a place that is better equipped to really help you. And if you don't know where to begin, and most of you won't, you don't know who to trust, and most of you aren't there yet, this is a great starting place. In fact, I'd probably venture to say that even if you're not even in the area, just to be able to
Visit.
call and check in and get some good information. Again, we've been with Cheri Taylor, the Executive Director of Porterville Adult Day Services. Thank you so much. This has
Thank
been
you for the
very
opportunity.
rich.
I can't
Appreciate it.
tell you how
So-
much I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to be off next week. We'll see you again at Truth for Seniors, and stay tuned.
Talk.com.